first week doesn't announce itself with explosions or panic. It begins with a quiet failure that most people misread. Lights flicker once, twice, then go out. Phones lose signal. Water pressure drops just enough to be noticeable, then disappears entirely. What follows is not immediate chaos, but a deceptive calm where millions of people hesitate, waiting for systems to come back online. This hesitation is the first and most dangerous mistake. Because in a true collapse scenario, the first week is not a grace period. It is the most critical survival window you will ever face. The danger in those initial hours is not what people expect. It is not violence, not starvation, not even exposure. It is dependency. Modern infrastructure is designed to function as an interconnected system where each component relies on another. Electricity powers water treatment. Water systems rely on pressure maintained by pumps. Communication networks depend on power and cooling. When one fails, the others begin to degrade in a cascading sequence. The misunderstanding is that these systems fail independently and recover quickly. The reality is that once the cascade begins, restoration becomes exponentially more difficult with each passing hour. The hidden principle here is time compression. In normal conditions, problems unfold gradually, giving people time to react. In a collapse scenario, critical thresholds are reached much faster than expected because systems are no longer stabilizing each other. For example, without electricity, refrigeration stops immediately. Food begins to enter the bacterial growth danger zone within hours. The commonly held belief is that refrigerated food remains safe for a day or two. In reality, perishable items can become unsafe in as little as 4 hours if temperatures rise above safe thresholds. This is not speculation. It is based on well-documented food safety standards that define the range between 4 degrees C and 60 degrees C as the zone where bacteria multiply rapidly. Water presents an even more immediate threat. Most people assume that stored water in pipes and tanks will last for days, but water systems are pressure dependent. Once pumps stop, pressure drops and contamination risk increases. Backflow can introduce pollutants into what was previously clean water. The idea that tap water remains safe after system failure is a dangerous misconception. The hidden science involves understanding how quickly microbial contamination can occur when pressure is lost, allowing bacteria to enter through leaks and compromised infrastructure. Evidence from past disasters shows that individuals who secure water within the first 12 hours have significantly higher survival rates, not because water disappears instantly, but because its quality degrades rapidly. Boiling water is often presented as a universal solution, but this assumes access to fuel and time, both of which become limited resources. The real implication is that water must be prioritized before scarcity becomes visible, because by the time it is obvious, it is often too late. As the first day progresses, another threat begins to emerge: information collapse. Without reliable communication, people rely on assumptions, rumors, and outdated expectations. The human brain is wired to seek patterns and predict outcomes based on past experience. But in a collapse scenario, past experience becomes a liability. People expect restoration because that is what has always happened. This expectation delays critical decisions such as rationing, relocation, or securing resources. The misunderstanding here is psychological rather than physical. People believe they will act quickly in an emergency, but behavioral data consistently shows the opposite. In high-stress situations, individuals often freeze or revert to routine behavior. This delay, even if it lasts only a few hours, can determine whether someone secures essential resources or faces immediate scarcity. The hidden science behind this behavior is rooted in cognitive bias and stress response. The brain prioritizes familiar patterns over new information, even when those patterns are no longer valid. This is why early action feels unnecessary or even irrational to many people. But the evidence is clear. Those who act before confirmation of crisis consistently outperform those who wait for certainty. By the second day, the situation begins to shift. What was once a silent failure becomes visible. Stores are emptied not through panic but through predictable consumption patterns. Supply chains operate on a just-in-time model, meaning inventory is minimal and replenishment is constant under normal conditions. When transportation and distribution stop, shelves are depleted within hours. The misconception is that scarcity is caused by panic buying. In reality, scarcity is a structural inevitability when supply chains are interrupted. The hidden principle here is throughput. Modern systems are optimized for efficiency, not resilience. They are designed to move resources quickly, not to store them. This means that once movement stops, availability collapses almost immediately. The implication is that waiting to see empty shelves is already too late. The real window for action exists before visible scarcity, not after. Food, like water, becomes a matter of time and knowledge. Many people focus on quantity, stockpiling as much as possible. But the overlooked factor is preservation. Without refrigeration, food must be consumed or stabilized quickly. Methods such as drying, salting, or fermenting are rarely considered in modern contexts, yet they represent some of the most effective ways to extend food life without electricity. The misunderstanding is that these methods are outdated or unnecessary. The reality is that they are among the few options available when systems fail. As conditions escalate into the third and fourth days, the human body begins to respond to stress in measurable ways. Sleep patterns are disrupted, hydration levels fluctuate, and caloric intake becomes inconsistent. These changes may seem minor, but they compound rapidly. Dehydration, even at mild levels, reduces cognitive function, impairs decision-making, and increases fatigue. The assumption that thirst is an adequate indicator of hydration is incorrect. By the time thirst is felt, the body is already in a state of deficit. The hidden science involves understanding how the body prioritizes resources under stress. Blood flow is redirected, hormone levels shift, and energy is conserved in ways that can impair physical and mental performance. This is why small mistakes become more frequent as time progresses. Dropping tools, misjudging distances, forgetting simple tasks, these are not random errors but predictable outcomes of physiological stress. Evidence from survival studies consistently shows that maintaining hydration and caloric intake, even at minimal levels, significantly improves performance and decision-making. The implication is that resource management is not just about survival, it is about maintaining the ability to think clearly and act effectively. By the end of the first week, the environment itself begins to change. Waste accumulates, sanitation systems fail, and the risk of disease increases. This is where the majority of unprepared individuals begin to face serious consequences, not because they lack food or water, but because they underestimate the importance of hygiene. The assumption that cleanliness is secondary to survival is one of the most dangerous misconceptions. The hidden principle is microbial load. As waste accumulates and water becomes scarce, the concentration of pathogens in the environment increases. This raises the likelihood of infection from even minor exposures. The body, already stressed and potentially malnourished, becomes less capable of fighting off these infections. What begins as a minor illness can escalate into a serious condition within days. And as this reality sets in, the nature of survival changes again. Because by the end of the first week, the immediate threats have been replaced by something more complex, more persistent, and far less visible. Something that does not arrive suddenly but builds quietly until it becomes unavoidable. What emerges after the first week is not a single threat, but a layered system of pressures that interact in ways most people never anticipate. The visible problems, empty shelves, dark streets, silent infrastructure, begin to fade into the background. In their place, a slower, more dangerous process takes over: degradation. Not collapse in the dramatic sense, but the steady erosion of physical capability, environmental safety, and decision-making clarity. This phase is where outcomes are decided, not by what resources remain, but by how effectively those resources are managed over time. The danger now is no longer immediate scarcity, it is mismanagement. By this point, most individuals have either secured some level of food and water or they have not. But possession is only the beginning. The real risk lies in consumption patterns. The natural instinct is to eat when hungry, drink when thirsty, and use resources to maintain comfort. This instinct, while logical in normal conditions, becomes a liability in a constrained environment. Because the body's signals are not calibrated for scarcity, they are calibrated for availability. Hunger does not indicate optimal consumption, it reflects immediate need, not long-term survival. The hidden principle is metabolic packing. The human body can adapt to reduced caloric intake, but only if the reduction is controlled and consistent. Sudden deprivation triggers rapid energy loss, cognitive decline, and increased vulnerability to illness. Conversely, overconsumption in the early phase leads to premature depletion of supplies. The balance is not intuitive. It requires deliberate control over intake, prioritizing nutrient density over volume, and maintaining hydration even when water must be rationed. Evidence from controlled studies and real-world survival situations shows that individuals who maintain steady, moderate intake outperform those who fluctuate between excess and deprivation. This is where misunderstanding becomes dangerous. Many people believe that conserving energy means minimizing activity. While rest is important, complete inactivity accelerates physical decline. Muscle atrophy begins within days, reducing strength, endurance, and mobility. Circulation slows, increasing the risk of clotting and impairing recovery from minor injuries. The hidden science here is that the body requires movement to maintain function. Controlled, low-intensity activity preserves muscle integrity, supports circulation, and stabilizes mental state. The implication is that survival is not passive, it is an active process that must be sustained even under constraint. As the body adapts, the environment continues to deteriorate. Sanitation, often overlooked in the early phase, becomes a dominant factor. Waste disposal is no longer managed by external systems, and accumulation creates a direct pathway for disease transmission. The assumption that distance from waste is sufficient protection ignores the role of vectors, flies, rodents, and contaminated surfaces that transfer pathogens into living spaces. The hidden principle is exposure pathways. Contamination does not require direct contact. It spreads through air, water, and surfaces in ways that are not immediately visible. Evidence from disaster zones consistently shows that outbreaks of gastrointestinal and respiratory illness increase sharply after the first week. These are not exotic diseases, but common infections amplified by poor sanitation and weakened immune systems. The survival implication is clear. Hygiene is not optional, and it is not secondary. It is a primary defense mechanism. Simple actions: separating waste areas from living spaces, maintaining hand cleanliness with limited water, and protecting food from contamination, have disproportionate impact on survival outcomes. Water, once secured, becomes a variable rather than a constant. Storage conditions, container integrity, and environmental exposure all influence its safety over time. The misconception is that stored water remains safe indefinitely. In reality, stagnation allows microbial growth, and containers can introduce contaminants if not properly maintained. The hidden science involves understanding that water safety is dynamic. Regular inspection, rotation when possible, and secondary treatment methods such as filtration or chemical purification become necessary to maintain potability. The psychological dimension intensifies as well. Isolation, uncertainty, and prolonged stress alter cognitive function in measurable ways. Decision-making becomes narrower, risk assessment becomes inconsistent, and emotional responses become amplified. The belief that mental resilience is purely a matter of willpower ignores the physiological basis of stress. Cortisol levels remain elevated, sleep cycles are disrupted, and the brain's ability to process complex information declines. This is not a failure of character, it is a biological response to sustained pressure. The hidden principle here is cognitive preservation. Maintaining routine, even in a minimal form, stabilizes mental function. Regular intervals for eating, hydration, rest, and activity create structure that the brain can rely on. This reduces cognitive load and improves decision-making consistency. Evidence from long-duration isolation studies shows that individuals who establish and maintain routine are significantly more effective at managing both physical and psychological challenges. As the second week approaches, the interaction between these factors becomes more pronounced. Nutritional deficits begin to impair immune response, making infections more likely and more severe. Dehydration, even if mild, compounds fatigue and reduces physical performance. Minor injuries, if not managed properly, begin to interfere with mobility and daily function. Each issue alone is manageable. Combined, they create a feedback loop that accelerates decline. This is where the concept of resilience must be redefined. It is not about enduring hardship in a dramatic sense, but about maintaining stability across multiple systems simultaneously. The body, the environment, and the mind must all be managed with equal attention. Neglect in any one area creates vulnerability in the others. The misunderstanding is that survival is about prioritizing the most obvious threat. The reality is that the most dangerous threats are often the ones that develop slowly, without immediate visibility. The evidence is consistent across every documented collapse scenario, whether caused by natural disaster, infrastructure failure, or isolation. The first week determines trajectory. Those who establish control early over resources, routines, and environment create a stable baseline from which to adapt. Those who delay, who rely on assumptions, or who focus only on immediate needs without considering progression, enter a state of reactive survival where each new problem is addressed in isolation, often too late. And this leads to the final shift in understanding. Staying alive is not a single objective. It is a continuous process of adjustment based on changing conditions and limited resources. There is no moment where survival is secured, only a series of decisions that either maintain stability or erode it. The systems that once absorbed errors are gone. There is no external correction, no fallback, no redundancy beyond what you create yourself. What remains is a simple but unforgiving reality. Survival in the first week is not about strength, speed, or even preparation alone. It is about understanding how systems fail, how the body responds, and how small decisions accumulate into irreversible outcomes. The truth is not hidden because it is complex. It is hidden because it is uncomfortable. It demands discipline over instinct, awareness over assumption, and consistency over reaction. And in that understanding, the first week is no longer a period of waiting. It becomes the moment where everything is decided.